for millennia old ethnic hatred, and also the JQ, the conspiracy theory that Jewish people like magically controlled everything, which a lot of people still believe today. But they don't teach about that. They teach like, oh, it's because they had a different religion. I think in a lot of school they don't even teach why Nazis hated Jews. I think they're literally just like, yeah, the Nazis didn't like the Jews. Okay, like they just rolled the dice. Like, it could have been anyone. It could have been the Jews. It could have been anyone. Like, I hate the French. That was what I rolled. I think it kind of falls in the same purview of, like, I feel they need to do a better job. Like, you know how the Holocaust, 12 million people died, and half of them were Jews, and half of them were, like, Romani, homosexuals, Slavs, so on and so on, right? And for the most part, we talk about the Jews because, don't get me wrong, the Jews were absolutely the #1 target of the regime. There's no getting around that. It was not like an equal playing field there, But a lot of people were targeted, and I think that doesn't get mentioned enough because it's important to understand the logic of the Nazis can be applied broadly to a bunch of different groups. The Nazis didn't just hate, like, Jews, right? Like, they hated the Jews, but they hated a lot of things. The main thing they hated apart from the Jews was what they perceived as degeneracy. They didn't hate homosexuals just for being homosexuals. They hated them because they fit into this broader, like, social narrative of people who are weak, or people who undermine the state, or people who are different. And all of that hateful rhetoric persists today in the conservative movement in this country and in Israel against Palestinians, in a lot of places. But, like, we could do a better job of identifying it. What Trump is doing here is verbatim, word for word, the belief of the eugenicists who inspired the Nazis. The idea that criminality is written into genes, into the features of one's face and skeleton and skull shape and so on and so forth. It sounds ridiculous today. A lot of people still do believe it. It's demonstrably not true. It is factually unsupported, but that doesn't stop people from believing in it. And it's because, like, it's the essentialism thing again. You fall back on an ideology where good people are innately good. It's because they're genetically good, and bad people are bad because they're innately genetically bad. And if you believe that, you will want to build death camps. There is no other way around it. There is no A to B that doesn't involve death camps. If you think that's how morality works, that it's inscribed in genetic information, passed down child to, or like parent to child, you will build death camps. Read in 1997, Rising Neo-Nazi Threat book that a Klan man left when they said that his son is going to hell for his son's cleft palate. Jesus. Yeah, well. My religious grandparents and their daughter believe people are innately good. A lot of people think that, but it is very common in religious thinking. Yeah. Trump is basically saying Haitians are Untermensch because they're genetically predisposed to violence. Yeah, no, that's what he's saying. That I think broadly about, like, immigrant groups right now. But yeah, that is fundamentally like Calvinism is the evilest type of Protestant. That is true. But Donald Trump isn't a Calvinist. He's just a fascist. And a lot of people think like this, What's wrong with Calvinists? Google Calvinism. Do Americans have any education on Italian fascism? I'm going to be real with you. I'm pretty sure that in the common, like, perception in American education, Mussolini was just like Hitler's goofy sidekick. Honestly, I'm okay with that. That's fine. That's okay. It's like it's a perception largely informed by, I don't know, his depiction in, like, World War II propaganda posters and Looney Tunes. It's not that serious with him. To be fair, Italian fascism was mostly a failure. It's really difficult to get fascism out of a population that just wants to drink wine and smoke cigarettes. Like, how do you get, like, it makes sense with the Germans, the industrious, humorless, utterly incapable of levity Germans, but people in Italy, are you kidding me? How are you going to do fascism with them? Get real. Come on. Anyway, I don't want to pull from the important point here. You're essentializing the Italians? A little. It's Mediterranean people. I believe in pan-Mediterranean ethnic theory, but we don't need to get into that right now. We're trying to talk about something serious.
Person. And they're now happily living in the United States. Now a murderer, I believe this.
A murderer?
It's in their genes. And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now. They had 400.
I would really like it if I could see this clip continued and it didn't just cut off right after that.
I believe this.
Nice.
It's in their genes.
Thank you, Jimmy Rustler 48.
A lot of bad genes in our country right now. They had 425,000 people come into our country that shouldn't be here, that are criminals. And you know, one of the worst stats, 325,000 young children are missing. Can you?
This is another thing that's like so obvious that I hope it wouldn't even need to be said. But when he says, I think that criminality is written in your genes, and then he calls every single person who comes into the country when they're black or brown a criminal, it's a pretty broad racial statement. It's not as though when he talks about criminality written in the genes, he's talking about like whether or not you're going to be an arsonist or a murderer or something. He's talking about race, you know.